Hello, everybody. I trust you guys are well, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to spend a few moments with me here on SML TV. Guys, I have to say, before I begin, I must share this with you. I've got a very funny, uh, interesting Yango story. As many of you know, right now, currently, I do not have a car. My car's down, so my kids sort of turned me onto this taxi service called Yango. I used to use Ulendo. Okay, now it's okay for me to say this because neither one of these companies are paying me. Okay, Ulendo's not paying me, Yango's not paying me. I'm just simply sharing with you my experience. Okay, so don't get it twisted. Okay, so anyway, ever since our car it's been down, and my kids for the longest time, my kids used to say to me, "Dad, you should use Yango. It's a good service." And I sort of dragged my feet on the issue. Finally, I used it, and I was I liked it. I do. I like it. It's affordable. Well, they're both convenient services, but in terms of affordability, I think everybody knows that Yango's slightly more affordable than its competitor. Again, don't misunderstand. Nobody's paying me for this. I'm simply sharing my experience with you. Anyway, so yesterday I hop on a Yango and we're as is my custom. I speak to all the drivers, and I'm sure you do the same thing. Make small talk, ask them things like, "How long have you been driving? How long have you been serving as a Yango driver?" And many of them have very interesting stories. Anyway, so we're driving down Cairo Road. This was yesterday morning. This was about 8:30 in the morning. And we're talking, banter back and forth. We're driving along Cairo Road, and all of a sudden, this driver looks at me. He just turns and looks at me, and he says, "Mr. Mwewa, I'm really sorry, but could you take this car and I'll meet you at Simoson?" And he just hops out of he says, "I'm pressed. I need the bathroom. And if I sit here for 2 seconds longer than I should, it's going to be embarrassing." And he shoots out of the car and he just runs that way. And I'm sitting in traffic and I'm thinking, what is this? What if this is part of some scheme to get me arrested? Okay, I mean, this is the paranoid mind. See, this is what happens when you live a paranoid life. Not that I live one, but in that moment, in that split second, I was thinking, what? And before I could respond and answer, I mean, this guy was gone. The door was open. I'm sitting in the back seat because I always sit in the back seat, and I always tell my kids, my children, well, the two that are in university, I say to them, make sure you sit in the back seat. Never sit in the front seat with the drivers. So I'm sitting in the back seat, and then I realize he's gone. And by this time, people are starting to hoot. There's a bus behind me. So I hop out of the car. I walk us, close the door, walk around the back, step into the car, close the door, and I begin to drive off. And I'm thinking, and his phone is right there. I mean, you could see the destination thing is happening. The Yango app is, it's doing its thing. And so I drive here to my office, and I parked the car inside Simoson here, and I tell the guards, I said, "Look, there's a guy that's coming. Give him this money. He's coming to get this car." And it was one of those cars that it doesn't need a key. Okay, it doesn't need a key. I mean, there are cars now that don't need keys. What kind of world are we living in? Okay, when I stop, I'm reaching, I'm looking, I'm thinking, where's the key? All of a sudden, I see some button. It's like a big button that says start and finish or something. I press that, boom, the car goes off. And, I give the guard the money. And I'm sitting in my office, and about 35, 40 minutes later, this guy walks into my office and he says, "Mr. Mwewa, thank you so much. I mean, I mean, I'm so sorry that I had to dash off like that, but I was so pressed that if I stayed in the car for 2 seconds longer, it was going to be embarrassing. So anyway, I said, "Hey, no, that's fine. You're fine to do that, and that's okay." And I paid him, and he left. That's my Yango story. Share with me if you've had any interesting Yango stories. I would really be grateful. Guys, thank you for being with me. Before we get into today's topic, and I won't be long, I won't keep you long. What I need to hear is that you guys can hear me. That's the thing. I need to know that this broadcast is clear. You guys can hear this, and we are on the straight and narrow. I'm just going to check my phone here. Just give me a moment to check my phone just to be sure that we're doing what we're doing, and we're fine. Watching from Wolverhampton, UK. Bo Allen, my dear friend Bo Allen. I've never met Bo, okay, but she's a regular here on SML TV. Bo Allen, thank you so much for taking the time. Scott Stelmack, we can, he says. Steward Liuwa, hello to you. Thank you so much. Regardless of where you're watching us from, Australia, Kwakasomo, Kutwapia, Belize. Ever heard of Belize? One of those beautiful places. I've never been to Belize, but if you're watching from Belize, if you're watching from Cape Town, South Africa, if you're watching us from Ghost Town, there's a place in South Africa that is the center of crime and debauchery in Cape Town. It's called Ghost Town. Apparently, no police officers go there. It is the quintessential pure territory of terror over there in Cape Town, South Africa. If you're watching us from Ghost Town, you're welcome. Call the cops, though, as you watch. Call somebody, Anyway, I just wanted to bring something to you real quick. And before I do that, let me go ahead and plug this, because this is something I've been watching. I've been seeing this on social media, and I think this is something that we all have to begin to have a conversation about. I was listening to my dear friend Lawrence Thompson, whom I've known for many years. He's a filmmaker. He's a film director. He's a producer. He's the one that produces and directs. I think he directs the television show McCoffee on DSTV, Zambezi Magic. But he has a brand new project which he's executive producing now, but it's being directed by Kenny Mumba. It's called, and I know you guys have heard about this, I'm going to throw it up here real quick. If my mouse works, for goodness sake, boom. It's called Mwavi. Can they see us? Now, as you know, Mwavi is a derogatory term for people that live with albinism. I can never say that word correctly. People that are struggling with albinism. Is that how you say that? Okay, the people that have the pigmentation problem. And this is a very important film, and let me explain why. There's a lot of misconception about people living with albinism. Lots of misconceptions, lots of misteachings, lots of misinformation. I remember when I was a kid growing up, we had a gentleman, one of the guards at our home. I forget his name now, but I remember him telling us, my brother and I, when we were little boys. I must have been about 12 or 13 years old. First time I'd seen an albino or albino or person with albinism. I do not know the politically correct terminology to use, and please school me if you can in the comments below. But I remember seeing a person, an albino person, for the first time, and I couldn't figure out what they were. I didn't know who this person was and why they looked the way that they looked. I was a kid. I was a little boy. And the guard said to me, he says, when you see people like that, the first thing you do is that you hold your shirt out and you spit in your shirt. And I looked at the guard and I said, well, why? He says, no, if you don't do that, you are going to have children like that. If you don't do that, some misfortune is going to befall you. And it confused me. And children, this is the reason it's important that you teach children the right thing, because children are impressionable. Children are impressionable. Do you know what that means? It means they soak up everything you throw at them. If you, as a parent, are teaching your children the wrong thing, guess what? They will ascend to that wrong thing. They will climatize to that wrong teaching. Why? Because children are impressionable. And so for years, I used to walk around with this thing in my head thinking, oh, when you see an albino person, you spit in your shirt. Well, it wasn't until my father, I think he'd heard me talk about that or something. My dad said to me, he says, well, that's ridiculous. That's nonsense. They are people just like you. They just have a different skin tone. And in that moment, that whole idea dissipated. See, that's why parents are important. That's why your parents they're the crucibles of knowledge, or at least they should be. So, and I know some people have been saying in the comment section, they've been saying, well, why must they call it Moabi? That's offensive. Yes, that's true, but what it does, it shines light, a very important light, on a very controversial topic. It reminds me of Emmett Till. Do you guys know who Emmett Till is? Ever heard of Emmett Till? Here, I'll throw it up here in a second here for you so that you know what I'm talking about. Did I not put Emmett Till there? I thought I did. Okay, just give me a moment here. Just give me a second. I thought I put Emmett Till on there. I did. See, this is what happens when you're a one-man show. Do you remember Emmett Till? Emmett Till, and I'm tethering this, I'm tying this into the issue of some of you saying, well, it's offensive to say Moabi. Well, sometimes you have to say the thing that everybody knows in order to cast some light on the topic so that you begin to have healthy, constructive, forward-moving conversations about a topic. Emmett Till was a young 14-year-old African-American boy over there in the state of Mississippi. If you've ever heard of Mississippi, MISSISSIPPI, Mississippi in the 1950s. This was in 1955. Now, you have to remember, in 1955, people like me were considered less than. People with my skin tone in America in 1955 in the state of Mississippi, people like me were like less than. White America in Mississippi looked at black people as less than. Well, anyway, this young man, Emmett Till, 14 years old, he saw a white woman in town and he whistled at this white woman. He went, when a young man sees a beautiful woman, you say something crazy. Well, this young 14-year-old black boy whistled at a white woman. That white woman went home and told her husband, you're not going to believe what happened to me in town. The husband says, well, what happened? She says, some little nigger boy whistled at me. He catcalled me. And her husband, furious boy, he walked out of the house and said, oh, we're going to get that nigger. So he mobilized some good old boys. They went and they abducted Emmett Till. They went and got that boy, abducted him, took him to some remote area over there in Mississippi. They tortured him, and they ultimately hung him, and they burnt him. When they found Emmett Till, he was bruised, battered, beaten, and half burnt. It was a mess. At his funeral, and this is my point, at his funeral, Emmett Till's mother insisted that even in the state that his body was in, even in the mangled, repudiating, repugnant state that her son's body was in, His mother insisted, I want an open casket funeral. You know what that is, an open casket funeral? In other words, she said, I want my son's body to be viewed. Now, Emmett Till's relatives said to his mother, they said, well, mother, his body is mangled. His body is repudiating. His body, you can't look at it. It's so ugly. It's so horrible. And the mother said, I want people to see how ugly racism is. Are you getting that? So the point is, the reason I think the producers of this film called Mwabi is that, you know, to some it may be offensive, but it sheds light on a very important topic. So I think that all of us, I'm in the studio, in the bus studio. What? Oh, what mouse? Oh, my man! Bachelando, please come in. Hi, how are you? Oh, it's good to see you. You know who these people are? Hey guys, I'm with the mayor of Lusaka here. Say hi, you're live. It's good to see everybody. You. Are we doing something today? Are we? Yeah. Oh. So you're not gonna wait for me. You're gonna let him Your worship, it's so good to see you. Worship, it's so good to see you. This is impromptu. I didn't even know she was gonna be here. It's good to see you.
Hi.
So what are you doing in this part of town?
I'm checking. We have just received a report that we have some youth trying to mount some boats where we removed them. So I've just come to check.
Can I tell you what's happening, Your Worship? And I know you know this. You know, ever since the exercise of removing the booths from Cairo Road, which I thought was a very successful thing, what's happened is that they think that now that you can remove them from Cairo and then bring them kuno. Yonse filter lane, on Lumumba Road. It's full of booths.
Yeah, that's what we've come to check now, and we have to remove them. Actually, the people of Lusaka, I think we need to, like I said during the campaign time, we need to organize ourselves. I think booths, yes, we allow the business, but they just can't be dotted all over the city. And then the challenges, of course, the markets have taken long to finish, but they'll be finishing soon. We're waiting for payments and so on. Funding was a problem, but now funding has been given. So all the vendors, most of the vendors and the booth guys and ladies will have to move to the markets. But then this issue of just having the old fashion booth, I think we have to move from that now. Yeah, we've been talking with the service providers. I think the booth issue, the little booth, is such an eyesore. Let's allow them to do money transfer business, but let them be in a proper shop. They can be 5 or 10 of them in a shop. They can have a container put in the right place, and then they can be like 4 of them in one container. I think the dotted booths around the city, we need to start phasing them off.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Now, I have to ask you, because we've heard, we don't know how true it is, Your Worship, that City Market has received 35 million kwacha in terms of funding to complete the market. Simon Moorlane has received 19 million. Is that true? And if it is, when are they going to start constructing?
For Simon Market, I think we are at 98%, about 97 point something. So less than 3% is what is remaining to finish off the first phase, actually. So the reason why we've taken long is that the DMMU changed the contractor and had a new contract, put a new contractor on site. So the paperwork and so on, that's what has delayed us. But the funding was given to DMMU. I'm not sure how much, but I know that the funding was given. And I was here the other week just to check if ZNS was on the ground. They were not on the ground, but they informed me that they're just waiting for the funding. That's for Simon Market. And then we interviewed the people. So we're just, as soon as it's done, we'll give them letters of offer. And I'm hoping that before the end of the year, people can start trading. Because what is really taking us backwards in terms of keeping the city clean is because everybody's still there trading. And if people continue trading the way we are trading, it's quite impossible to keep the city clean. I think you know that. Yeah. We've been trying. Even if we sweep at 6 o'clock in the morning, by 8:30 in the morning, there's waste all over the place. Because remember, Lusaka is a capital city. A lot of urbanization is happening, and the population is growing so fast. People are rushing to the city for survival, so it means that they're trading in just all sorts of areas. They don't want to be in markets, they want to be on the streets. So we need to sort out that issue. And with markets, when the markets are ready, I think then we can really put the enforcement. Yeah. Then for city market, what was remaining is just the electricity, and also payment of the people that were doing the works. So it's the same story. The money is available, so I think it should be done. What has taken long is just the procedure of putting paperwork in order. But I've been visiting the MMU. We've been talking with the national coordinator, and he actually knows how desperate this mayor is to open these two markets. Yeah. But thank you so much for your support, because I know you want a clean city. I know. So we really have to be on our toes. Yeah. So start planning, because the rainy season is coming. We need to clean, but not only in CBD. And this is something that I'm so disappointed about. What about the communities? And people talk about keeping the city clean, and I always ask them, where is your broom? Where is that person's broom? They talk about keeping the city clean, but they don't have a broom. They don't want to sweep. So how are we going to achieve a clean city if nobody, or they are not taking part in this campaign? Yeah.
Lastly, Your Worship, I have to say to you, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because people oftentimes, when we think of cleaning, we just think of here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's important for us to understand that the CBD is a very small part of Lusaka. So, which brings the question, if the CBD is so small, why is it difficult for the local authority to deal with the filth in the CBD?
First of all, local authority and also NRFA, we have what we call the CBEs that are under the city council and the franchise contractors. The performance contractors that are supposed to clean the drainages, attached with and paid by NRFA. So they're the ones that are supposed to clean the drainages, but of course we supervise them. So the last few months or the last few years is because, oh, there's no money and so on. Repairs, they're paid. Yeah. But what we've seen is that most of them don't have the capacity. This is the reason why even the Minister of Local Government said to Lusaka City Council, we have to review and terminate those that are not working. And this is what we're doing. Yes. Because some of them is the capacity. When they're applying, they say they have the equipment and so on. But in the process, they don't have the equipment. So we're trying to review and then just keep the ones that have the capacity and replace those ones that don't have the capacity. So sometimes it's just what the people that we've given the contracts to. Yes. But then Lusaka City Council has been trying the best that we can. Yes, the best that we can, but also it's people's mindset, because you just can't trade at the place and throw litter anyhow. Even if you don't have a dustbin, that's the reason why we encourage you to have a bag where you can throw in and go and throw at the designated area. But like I said, with a lot of urbanization and population growing, there's a bit of chaos which we have to control. Yeah.
Your Worship, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please
Thank you.
tell-
I'm sorry for just.
No, I'm so glad. I'm honored. I am.
I was downstairs.
Yes. So where you going? You're going to speak to what are you going to do now?
I'm just waiting for the council police, and then we check where the booths are, and then we'll swing into action. Please support the mayor. Stop destroying the mayor's name and so on. I want a clean city, but I need your support, all of you. All those that believe in a clean and healthy city. Let's just work together. Yes, let's work together. My office is open to everybody. Yeah, I think you've seen my work. Yeah, so let's just work together. Bye.
Thank
Have
you
a
so
lovely
much.
weekend. Okay.
Appreciate you so much.
Okay.
Take care. I'll see you down there. Cheers. Bye. Guys, that's the mayor of the city of Lusaka. Chilando Chitangala. Hello, thank you so much. Oh, you brought the bins from Mr. Patel. Oh, fantastic. Could you give me just 10 minutes? Yeah, 10 minutes. Thank you so much. Oh, great. We've got some Mr. Patel. There's a gentleman named Mr. Patel who has donated some bins for us. Are we on? Sorry about that. That's what happens when you're in an impromptu. This is Simoson, where anything happens. Okay, anything happens. So that's the mayor of the city of Lusaka, and the truth is, the mayor is my niece. Did you know that? I'm gonna drop. That's the reason I could be like that with her. She's my niece. Okay, and believe it or not, her and I went to school together. Another bomb right there. Some of you are like, really? Yeah, yeah. She's a very close relative of mine. Great. Well, hey guys, what was I very quickly? Let me just go through this. Was I talking? What was I talking about? Emmett. Oh, we're talking about Moabi. Yeah. So I need you guys. The movie comes out, I think, next Wednesday. 200 kwacha per person. I'm going to grab a few people from City Market to go and watch this. And Lawrence Thompson, we love you for what you do, and I think that you play a very important role in the filmmaking industries, and it's also very important for us as Zambians to tell our stories in our way. Black Panther is great. Black Panther is wonderful entertainment, and we should support that because, you know, a few Zambians are on the soundtrack to Black Panther, and that's something that we should be very proud of because, you know, it sort of puts us on the map. You know, so in addition to that, I think that whenever we do have an opportunity to tell our stories, let's tell them. And this is one of the stories that we need to tell about people living and struggling with albinism. Okay. Let me just very quickly answer this question. And this was the main topic. Are Bowman and Mr. Malanji expendable? The answer is yes. Now, before we go on, let me define the word expendable. Expendable, the word expendable means of relatively little significance. Okay, in other words, replaceable. So when you say, are Bowman and Mr. Malanji expendable? What you're asking is, are Bowman and Mr. Malanji replaceable? The answer is yes. Those elections are going to take place with or without them. The sun is going to come up tomorrow after realizing that Bowman is not on the ballot, after realizing that Mr. Malanji is not on the ballot. The sun will come up tomorrow, just like it does every other day. The sun is going to set tomorrow, just like it does every other day, or every day, rather. You know, so my point is they are expendable. The earth is not going to stop revolving on its axis because Bowman and Malanji are not on the ballot. The earth will still rotate on its axis. Okay? All right. God bless, guys. Thanks for watching. Was that kiss necessary? Of course it was. She's my niece.